Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Since 1911, the Pierre Parts Store has been your one-stop shop. Family owned and operated for 4 generations, the Pierre Parts Store has served the community by providing groceries, hardware, home products, and much more, including a full-service lumber yard. Now, we've added the Thibodaux store to the family with the same values and service we've delivered for over 100 years. The Pierre Parts Store and the Thibodaux store, our family serving your family.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time Sports. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you so much for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. You know, it's always nice to be able to check in with some of our local boys and how they're doing, especially when it comes to Nicholls State baseball. Welcome back to the program, their head baseball coach, Coach Mike Silva. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate you having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Look, I know we talked a lot about it at the beginning of the year, but let us maybe talk about some of your expectations, some of the team expectations early on when we started.
Yeah, I thought that our expectations were, realistically, kind of where we are now. We felt like we had a team that could compete to win our league again and potentially get back to a regional. Things that I was interested to see throughout the season was just how our guys would handle those expectations. We really didn't have any 3 years ago when I got here, and a lot of these guys have been with me since that time, and then we've added a couple of new pieces here and there, but just curious to see how they handle expectations. And then going into the season, I thought pitching and defense would really be our strength. And early in the season, we really struggled on the mound and playing defense. And then as the season's progressed, that's continually got better. And then offensively, I wasn't really sure how offensive we'd be this year, come out of the fall and then early spring. And then, our offense has pretty much carried us to this point.
Yeah, pretty amazing how that happens. I think about it every year. We talk about what we're kind of hoping for, where we see our strengths, and then our guys surprise us, right? And so just kind of really starting to make up, getting better on the mound, defense getting better, all the while that offense really coming alive, maybe in some places we didn't expect it.
Yeah, it's been, it's like I said, it's carried us this year, and it's allowed us to be in so many games. It's got us back to this position. 2 weeks ago, we're down 6-0 on Sunday at Incarnate Word in San Antonio, and we just kept battling back. And then some of the same cast of characters on the mound, just even guys like Salter Formaggio, he struggled at times early in the season. He's really carried us down the stretch. Those old veterans, him and DeSandro, and then Jacob Myers has been throwing the ball better as of late. Again, expectations and what the outside world thinks of you sometimes creeps into your mind. You try to do too much instead of sticking with who you are and what you do well. And I think we've gotten back to that over the last 3 or 4 weeks, but it's definitely been a struggle for us at times this year. But with that struggle, we're having a pretty successful season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been nice to follow, I got to tell you, as an alum and certainly a fan of your team. Tell us something maybe that you guys saw as the strength of your team, really being able to overcome some of those pitching woes and some of those defensive challenges. That's not easy to change as the season goes. What do you attribute that to?
Just psychologically understanding that even for me as a coach, our effort honestly wasn't probably where it needed to be mentally early in the season, staying locked in and managing the emotional swings of the game. Every game last weekend was 2 extra inning games and a 3-0 game. And I think we've finally grown into that, and we're getting everybody's best shot. And I think that I told our guys this year would be harder. It would be the hardest year they've had because of the expectations, because of the success that we've had. But I don't think them completely understanding that until you get into the depth of the season and you start going week in and week out and you never get a break. And so really proud of how they've responded to this point. And I feel like we're playing our best baseball at the right time. And then we've also overcome some significant injuries to some really key players for us and took some other guys a little bit of time to get their sea legs, and now they're playing really well.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where you can actually see the growth of some of those players who come in for you guys because of injury, but always kind of seeing some of those younger guys as they mature. I know a lot of these guys have been with you for 3 years. Has there been anybody that's kind of stepped up, some people that have surprised you as you've needed a little bit more out of them and them being able to step up?
I don't want to say it was a surprise, but I mean, Nicholls the last 2 weeks has literally taken our team and put us on his back and carried us to where we are now, where we go into this final weekend with an opportunity to win this thing. And what he did the last 2 weeks, I'd love to tell you. I mean, I know what he's capable of. Nothing he's going to do is going to surprise me. But in those moments with our back against the wall, the way he's thrown the baseball has been, I mean, he's thrown it about as well as I've ever seen him throw the baseball at the most important time for us and down the stretch of his career. So really happy and proud of him.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the support and the loudness of the fans. And listen, when you got a home game, other teams know you've got a home game. Let's talk a little bit about the excitement that y'all have kind of felt at the beginning of the season. A lot of excitement, huh?
That was the goal, man. And when you get somewhere and you kind of have a vision in your mind and you want to see if you can execute that vision. And I always believed in our community and our sports staffs and our alumni, but to see them come out when we've been at home this year, and we've had 1,000 fans most Fridays and Saturday nights here, and it's been rocking, and they've been having a good time and really creating a good home atmosphere for us, and we're going to need them again this weekend. But it's been outstanding to see it come to fruition and see it happen. To say it's not a sense of pride for me, it is. I love living here, I love the people, but to see them, just the way they rallied, and to give alumni, the type of excitement that I feel like we've been able to give them and bring them back in, and then for them to deliver with their support, not just emotional support, but financial support. But then there's a lot of things that people can be doing on Friday and Saturday nights. And for them choosing to bring their families to watch us play here, it's really special.
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point. I see a lot of the other players there, a lot of the other student athletes. I've got several family members that are student athletes there at Nicholls and have been. Some of them that don't even go to school there anymore, and they're early out of school. That's where they want to go back to. They plan their weekends just like that. And being able to see some of the younger kids. We've got a lot of families come out and witness and watch some really good baseball.
Yeah, it's been special. We have, Little League teams out there every weekend. We have people having their birthday parties at our field. We have people giving me hugs after the game, thanking me, and our kids are signing autographs after every game. I mean, the experience that we're providing for our student athletes right now, I think, is really special. And then I think that for whatever reason, they've gravitated to the connection. It's a very personal place. And so they have access to our players and our staff, and that connection's been really special. And I don't take it lightly. I know our players don't. And, their responsibility to continue to put a good product on the field and continue to bring the right kids into this program so we can continue to grow this thing.
We appreciate it. Coach, we got to take a quick break if that's all right. We'll come back and have a lot more with you.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. We'll take a short break. You do that with us. We'll be right back here on Bayou Time Sports.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time Sports. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad to be joining you here on this edition of Bayou Time Sports. Very glad to welcome back the head baseball coach, Mike Silva of Nicholls State University. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Keith. Happy to be here.
All right. Look, one of those things, I know we have our expectations, talked about that quite a bit, but let's talk a little bit about the beginning of the season, the challenge, and then the turnaround that you guys were able to make.
Yeah, well, we started out 17-3, which was outstanding, and then we went on a bit of a skid. We lost 8 in a row, and then conference started, right? And we got into conference. We went 1-5 at home to start off conference, and then we went on the road and almost won every game. We went 11-1 on the road in conference, won every conference series, almost swept them all. I'll be honest, that's something I've never experienced before in my career, and I think it's a tribute to the toughness and the dedication, how important this is to our kids.
Yeah, and so, again, it's one of those things. You start off really well, you feel good, and all of a sudden you hit that skid. Tell us how y'all were able to kind of right that ship. And I think you mentioned it about really trying to stay tough mentally, trying to stay tough psychologically, and what you and the coaching staff had to do. That had to have been an effort on your part.
Yeah, I think it's just, staying the course, really. I think sometimes everybody thinks it's a magic potion when you're facing adversity. You just got to pull your boots up and keep going. And then, we had significant injuries. We lost one of our best pitchers, Michael Guerrero. He tore his ACL. And, we went on a skid there for a while. And some other guys were having to take on bigger roles that maybe were a little bit outside their comfort zone. And then some other guys maybe putting too much pressure on themselves. But then also Edgar Alvarez, our first baseman. He's one of the best players in America. The season he's had is one of the best I've ever been a part of as a coach. And, he carried us offensively and sparked the rest of the guys. And then obviously some different guys in the bullpen have really stepped up for us.
Yeah, and that's kind of on the pitching side. Let's talk a little bit about the lineup and a little bit about how that hitting kind of came around. Did y'all have to do some juggling? Did I notice there that there was a few changes there in the middle of the lineup that you guys did?
Yeah, I don't want to say there was changes. I thought we just had to go a little bit more to matchups. We had to do a little bit better job as a coaching staff, making sure we matched guys up in better situations. And I think the easy thing to do when you're struggling is to point the finger at the players. And I always say the success, when you're having success, is because of the players. And when you're failing, you got to look at yourself, and you got to look at your staff, and you have to do a better job putting these young men in a better position to be successful. And then, honestly, getting them out of their feelings a little bit. There was some hard coaching. Thought we were running from the moment a little bit, and I think now our kids are running to the moment, and that makes it a lot of fun for everybody. Yeah,
I got to tell you, a fun season. Let's talk a little bit about some of maybe the energy that you guys were able to create, and maybe some of the positivity to start out the way that you did. Tell us a little bit about how the team was feeling then.
Man, it's when you're winning, right? Everything's better. Your food tastes better. Getting up to go to class is easier. Getting in the weight room is easier, and then. So you want to get off to a good start. And I talk to our team about this in our first meeting every year. It's really important to get off to a really good start. Then you got to kind of hold serve in the middle. Adversity's coming for you, whether it's injuries or you just don't get any breaks, or sometimes you just don't play well. I mean, that happens. Nobody ever says that. Sometimes you got to tip your hats to the other team, and, but then you want to finish strong. And then so we got to kind of that halfway point, and things weren't great for us. And we talked about the last quarter of the season and finishing strong. It's that last lap of the race that are postseason type games leading into the conference tournament. So I think we've answered the bell in regards to that, and I feel really good about where we're at right now.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's exciting to be a part of, and I know just kind of following some of those series. Can we go through some of those series where you guys were just winning every series and sweeping a lot of those as well? Can we talk about kind of the heart of that conference challenge and that we're finishing up with now?
Yeah, well, it started when we went down to Corpus Christi. It's such a difficult place to play, and they have a really good team. They've had a couple injuries on the mound since then, but you don't go down there and very rarely do you beat them there. Forget about sweeping them. And we felt like our backs were against the wall, really starting with that series. And then we kind of went on a run and started reeling them off. We went to Southeastern Louisiana, swept them. Went down to Corpus Christi, swept them. I mean, and then we got rolling from there. We went to Incarnate Word and won 2 out of 3. Went to Houston Christian, swept them. And so, I mean, it's really difficult to do, and going on that Texas swing and winning all those games, and then obviously coming home last weekend and taking 2 out of 3 and almost sweeping Lamar was huge for us to be in this position.
Yeah, I got to tell you, there was some excitement last weekend, and being able to see that, and then just kind of finishing off, and then that 3-0, that was a long game, huh?
Yeah, it was a long game. I got a half a day. I got out in the third, and I got asked to leave, and so. It's just part of it this time. You have emotional moments, and one of our players got ejected. And look, I think as a coach, your job is to fight for your kids. And if I'm at fault for anything, that's probably what I'm at fault for the most. I'm going to fight with them. And when you run one of them out of the game, and with how emotional that game was, and I'm probably right behind them. And then hats off to the staff and the players for picking us up and finding a way to get the job done.
Well, and look, quite frankly, if there's any explanation about this season, that would be it. Being able, that whole theory of Sean Payton, next man up kind of perspective. But it was next man up for, that player is next man up for you. And that says a great deal about the coaching staff, says a great deal about the team just coming together. And like you stood up for your player, and you're going to stand up for them every time, the rest of the team did what they could. They got a chance to stand up and step up for you and the staff as well.
Yeah, we're a family. I always say that. We have really good people that are high character men in our locker room. I have high character men on my staff with, Cody Livingston, Gabe Woods, and Austin Colon. I mean, those are really high level people, and they're great coaches. But I think you really look at the heart of somebody. It's about the type of human they are. And I think that reflects our players. The young men in our locker room are all outstanding young men. And sometimes they play well, sometimes they don't. But this place is really important to them. What we're doing right now here is really important to them, and they're really invested. So there's a lot of emotion involved, but always have confidence in them fighting for each other. And that's one of the things we talk about, play for each other.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it certainly plays out on the field. And, you mentioned that family perspective. It is certainly a family at Nicholls State University. It's certainly a family within that baseball program, but it's the families that go out and support it. It's family across the board. People can see it. People can feel it. And as we think about that and talk about that, we know that we're going to take that family perspective. We'll take another short break. When we come back, we'll kind of take a look at the standings and what we're looking at going into the Southland Conference.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Coach. All right, guys, Coach is going to join us. You stick around as well. We'll be right back right here on Bayou Time Sports.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time Sports. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And glad to welcome back into the program head baseball coach, Nicholls State University, Coach Mike Silva. Coach, thanks again for joining us.
Appreciate it, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. All right, Coach, we've talked about some of the expectations, talked about what the year has been like. I mean, it was a big one kind of finishing up with that series against Lamar. I know we want to kind of see where we are. Jason, put that up if you don't mind. Let's talk a little bit about where we are here in these baseball standings, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, we're one game back in the conference, 32-19 overall, and we have an opportunity to win this thing. We need a little bit of help this weekend from New Orleans, and they're still in the hunt too, and there's a path for them, and they're playing against Lamar. And then we have McNeese at home this weekend, who's playing really good. They've won, I think, 9 of their last 10 or 10 of their last 11, and playing really good baseball. So it's going to be a postseason type atmosphere, and this weekend, hopefully we can get it done, and then it leads right into the conference tournament.
Yeah, and we kind of look at those standings going in. McNeese not as good necessarily on the road, certainly as you guys have been at home. And so really excited about, you've been just as good as at home, really good at home, and just as good with a winning record away. So hopefully we can get New Orleans to have a good series. Let's talk a little bit about going up against McNeese, and do we have a plan for who we have starting for that?
Yeah, we're going to start Jacob Myers on Thursday night. And then after that, honestly, it's TBA. We're going to play every game like it's the 7th game of the World Series because we feel like we have to win them all to put ourselves in a position to have a chance to win the conference. There's some other scenarios that could play out, but we're going in with the approach we got to take it one game at a time and win each one of them. And so we'll start Jacob. Everybody will be available on Thursday night, and then we'll just try to piece this thing together each day and literally one pitch at a time.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the excitement. Here we are with this opportunity, being in second place, and maybe the perspective where the kids are and where they're thinking. I say kids, the young men, and where they are about going into this series with McNeese.
I mean, they're excited. I mean, I think that, we talk a lot about you want to get to this point in the season and be playing meaningful games. I think one of the things that catapulted us last year in the tournament was you get to the postseason sometimes if you're out of the conference race early and it's like you have to flip a switch and all of a sudden it's like, man, you have to win or you go home. And really we feel like our backs have been against the wall for a long time now. We've been playing postseason caliber games for probably 4 weeks now. And so feeling like we had really a small margin for error. And our guys have answered the bell. And so they're really excited. I think they're proud to put ourselves back in this position. We talked about trying to get to that last weekend at home with a chance. And we've put ourselves in that position. So hopefully we can go and finish.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's been awfully exciting to see the team just what appears to be getting better and better and just more and more solid, and just really, again, when they've been called, they've answered the bell. And here against McNeese, we want our community and your team as well to know that we're going to be there to support you and kind of look at playing their best ball. I love the fact that you're treating this like this is it. This is like a game 7, each game.
Yeah, it is. Look, it's special to be in this position. I think if people would take a step back for a second and think about where our program was 3 years ago to where it is today, I mean, the expectation, the respect we have on the national level, we have multiple kids on this team that are going to play professional baseball. A couple of them have a chance to be big leaguers if things fall right for them. And Edgar Alvarez, one of the best players in the country. Parker could do. He's got a chance to move on, and there's plenty of major league teams that have interest in both of those two guys. And then Jacob Myers will be a top draft pick last year. He'll go really early. And so just seeing the growth of our program to where it was to where it is, hats off to our kids. But we didn't do it alone. There's so many people, alumni, just supporters, people in our community that have stepped up to help this thing get to where it's at and continue to force it to grow. And we're extremely grateful for that. And our kids feel that. They feel like they're a part of something that's way bigger than themselves. And I think any program that has the type of growth that we've had, you have to have, perspective that I didn't do it by myself, and our program hasn't done it alone. It's been a community effort across the board, all across the Flush Parish, and even in Thibodaux, Louisiana. The folks have always stepped up for us, and so we want to answer the bell and give them something to be really proud of.
Well, I got to tell you, you are certainly the talk of the town. You're the talk of the area right now as we really look forward. No, that's the case. I mean, look, at my house, we've got lots of athletes, and some are from Texas. And a couple have gone to Nicholls, but that was the conversation. That was the conversation this past weekend at my house about what Nicholls baseball is doing and the opportunity that we have in front of us. I love the fact that you guys see this for what it is. This is a huge accomplishment, and yet you're not done. We still want to see this as what we're moving forward, and we got a few more goals to reach. Need a little help, but God knows you guys have put yourself in position to really make a great run right here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words. It's very humbling. It's very humbling to be the head coach here. It's very humbling to see the support. And it makes me happy that we've made people proud that support us. And we feel like we've elevated and put our university on a pedestal. And very, very proud of that. And I want to continue to do that. And our players want to continue to do that. So thank you for those kind words.
Absolutely. So, college sports nowadays, there's so many things that people talk about to get distracted away from the really good things, away from what people are doing on the field and off the field. And I know Nicholls State Baseball is very, very proud of these young men, your staff, and everything that you guys are doing here in our community.
No, I appreciate that. I think that we're trying to represent what our community is and what our university is. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that now. But like I said, it takes the whole village, and we're extremely humbled and grateful for all the support.
Well, Coach, I got to tell you, we in the community, we're going to be there. We're going to be there on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. We're going to cheer you guys on. We want the best for you. We'll be watching to see what New Orleans does against Lamar. But you certainly did what you needed to against Lamar to really kind of step up and balance that thing out. Looking forward to how we move forward.
Well, I appreciate it, Keith. I appreciate you having me. We're really excited about this weekend.
Fantastic. Coach, we look forward to watching, and we'll be around. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thanks again.
All right. And again, that's Coach Mike Silva taking a great deal of time with and for us to kind of give us his updates. And that's going to do it for this Bayou Time Sports. Don't go anywhere. A whole lot more right here on HTV.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.